Welcome to the Spotlight on Marketing. I'm your host, Karen Lloyd, and we are joined by Richard Blundell. So get ready to unlock the explosive growth for your B2B SaaS business. Industry veteran Richard is here to share his battle-tested secrets. And in this episode, we're going to gain exclusive insights from Richard's wealth of experience. We will delve into the hidden pitfalls that will trip up even the most promising of SaaS businesses. Richard has over 25 years' experience under his belt. He was part of the leadership team that steered MessageLabs to a staggering $700 million acquisition by Symantec. Now the founder of Venture, he has helped countless B2B SaaS companies skyrocket through his proven growth acceleration program. But Richard, he is not just a talker, he is a writer too. We have his book, the Go-To-Market Handbook for B2B SaaS leaders. This has become a global bestseller, empowering businesses in 16 countries to dominate the markets. Here is the book. And it's very, very insightful, which is really why I wanted to welcome Richard to the show today. So welcome, Richard.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. So let's dive in. So looking back on your SaaS success, what were the biggest changes that you've witnessed in the industry and how have they really impacted market strategies over the time?
That's a really good question. What are the biggest changes? I mean, I think it's probably harder today to sell software than it was maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago when everybody was looking for a solution to significant business problems. I think as the years have gone by and there's more and more software on the market, it's probably harder for founders today to, break through that glass ceiling with their customers. There are many companies, for example, who are now, blocking new software or are looking actively to reduce the amount of software they have across their organization. And that's why building a set of strategies that focuses relentlessly on visceral customer pain, on understanding and empathizing with your customer is ever more important today than it has been over the last 25 years. So technology's got faster. Obviously, we've seen things like AI, natural language processing, large language models, all these sort of things enter the market in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I think they're as confusing to customers as they might be to some software founders who are unsure how to deploy some incredibly powerful software that's there today. And yet again, it brings us back to building a go-to-market strategy around a simple and easy to understand value proposition that customers can directly relate to their own business and to the pain that they're suffering, and how you translate your clever technology into a simple, easy to understand, easy to adopt, faster value piece of software is the ball game, really. That's the difference between sort of great software businesses today and those that may fall by the wayside.
I completely get that, to be fair, because if you think about it, even like sort of something simple like an accounting software, now there's not just one package that delivers it. There's a partnership and they all interweave. And sometimes it's as someone who's buying software, sometimes it can be quite confusing to know, well, which one do I buy and why do I buy that and how do I buy that? And then you realise they're all partners and it's confusing and you're buying 3 or 4 bits of software that at one point 10 years ago you'd have just bought the one bit and put up with the bits that didn't work,
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point. I mean, there's a very fragile ecosystem. Your software needs to play nicely with the existing software that they have in place. And it'll be one of the major, and we talk about this in the book, one of the major headwinds that any software founder will find when trying to sell their software to customers. One of those headwinds will be, where does your software sit in this fairly fragile, very protected ecosystem that's protected by the CTO, and will it play nicely with the other systems that are already in place and already working effectively? And that'll be very much on the mind of your customers, and it's why you must address that straight out of the gate when you're presenting your technology and explain how it integrates, if it needs to integrate, and how it will sort of, in quotes, play nicely with the other systems that you have. I mean, the biggest headwind most software founders and software salesmen face is inertia, the sheer fear of change or the sheer lack of excitement about changing anything. That, well, why don't we just stick with what we've got? Inertia is a huge headwind that anyone trying to sell software will face. And that allied with how does this platform connect with my existing technology, is a really big headwind that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, completely. I actually spoke to a really brave founder about 6 months ago who actually threw the towel in and said they walked away from their business. And I said, I can't believe you've walked away. Why have you done this? He said, I just realised that our product wasn't different. He said there were so many Me Too products out there. And he said just we didn't have the ability or the funding to make it different or anything else. And he said, rather than not be delivering for our customers, he said, I'd rather walk away and do something different. And I think that was a really brave person, really.
Well, the market's become very saturated by software. SaaS has been viewed as the sort of golden ticket for too long. And it's harder than that. There's an enormous amount of technology out there. Trying to focus on what your secret sauce is, what makes you different from everybody else, and are you different from everybody else? And if you're not different from anybody else, how does your product uniquely solve problems that your competition doesn't? And investors talk about your moat. What is it about your business that can't be replicated by others? What have you dreamt up with that is incredibly difficult to replicate? But yeah, any business, it's often as brave to stop charging through the wilderness, hoping that, that magic's going to happen. It's often as brave to say, do you know what? I've given it everything I've got. I've realized that my product isn't competitive. I'm not going to put myself or my family through this anymore. It's often as brave to do that than sort of have death by 1,000 cuts. But if you want to stack the odds in your favor, I can't remember what the quote is, but is it Einstein or someone who said they spend 90% of their time thinking about the question and 10% of the time thinking about the answer? That really resonates. I'd spend 90% of my time thinking about my armor-piercing message set. And we talk about this in the book a lot. Why do so many software websites just tell their customers what they do rather than why they do it? And they often get so immersed in how clever they are in their technology, which is brilliant and well done for harnessing the power of a large language model or AI or any other technology you've come up with. But all the customer cares about is, will this make my life better? Is it easy to install? Can I afford it? Will I get value from it? And why will your software save me time and money? Okay, we've all done ROI for years, and does anyone believe that anymore? I don't know. But the silver bullet for me is, will it save me heartache? Will it make me look better in my organization? Will it make my team do their jobs better? Will they be easier will they be happier working together? Will it reduce friction across my organization? That's what websites should say, why your software exists. It's there to help, CFOs reduce the friction between themselves and the legal team around budgeting. And so when someone lands on the website, they're like, oh, well, I'm a CFO and I've got this problem. I've got this pain. I want to find out more. Not, oh, we're an AI large language model that sits on some very clever tech and blah, 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 blah. That's not going to sell you any software.
No, and even as someone, as a recruiter, when we're looking at companies who to target, sometimes I look at a company and I think, I don't know what they do.
Yeah,
I know they do AI, but what do they do? Because I'm trying to profile, will this company fit this company or whatever? And sometimes it is mind blowing, and it is, we work mostly with marketing people, and that's the bane of their life, is really to try and work with the sales team, the CEO, and everybody else to get everybody on board with that messaging, really. And I think that's the sort of golden sort of nugget, really, of what they're doing. So let's reflect back on your experience at MessageLabs, which obviously inspired this journey of change for you. And you went with the key go-to-market decisions. What were the main things you learned in that journey that you've now obviously taken forward?
Yeah, I was a very small part of the most incredible management team that you've ever seen. It was, what was MessageLabs' secret? Well, they just hired brilliant people. They had we had a phenomenal marketing director in Joss White, one of the founders, who cottoned on to the fact in the early days that, it was quite early on in the internet's life cycle. The business sort of really found its mojo in 2003, around that sort of area. What's amazing is that MessageLabs was originally a free giveaway. So we were originally at Star, which is the business that acquired the software business myself and Paul and Chris had created. So we set up our first, you'd call it SaaS today, in 1999. We got our value, and we cover this in the book extensively in chapter 1. We got our value proposition horribly wrong when we started. It took a customer to turn around and say, why are you selling your product the wrong way around? Thank God he did, because we then went back and sold the product in the right way, and thankfully sold our software to Hasbro and Tyco and Disney and Warner Brothers and the London Stock Exchange and many others. And that brought us on the radar of the MessageLabs group, or Star Internet as they were known at the time, who saw what we were doing with our software and said, look, why don't you come and join forces with us? We're very like-minded people. And it was a big decision for us at the time, but we decided to say yes. And within their portfolio, they had a giveaway piece of technology called MessageLabs, which was there to... So Star Internet was the internet in a box for SME companies. So when the internet started, if you were an SME business and you wanted to go on the web, you had to go to Cisco for your cabling and BT for your connectivity and IBM for your servers. And it was this really difficult task of wedding together 5 different suppliers. So what Star Internet did was just say, well, look, we will be, for SME space, the internet in the box. We'll do your cabling, we'll do the connectivity, we'll do the servers, we'll do the hardware, we'll do the tin, we'll do all of it, and we'll install it, and we'll manage it, and we'll support it. And it was hugely successful. And when that started taking off, suddenly what happened were these things called viruses, email-borne viruses, where people were sending, pictures of Anna Kournikova or love letters or whatever in emails that were deliberately there to access an organization's servers and cause them real problem. So the founders at Star said, well, this is crazy. We're installing networks, but all we're doing is shutting our customers down through viruses. How do we stop this? And at a brilliant meeting in a pub in Cirencester, I think, when they were literally drawing on the wall, someone said, well, before we download email onto people's desktops, why don't we examine that email? Let's create a server, a cloud-based server called Skeptic. We'll have a look at that email, make sure we're 100% happy with it. And if we're not, we'll stop it going down into the desktop of the recipient. We'll send an email to the recipient saying, this doesn't look right. We've blocked it. And then it's up to the recipient to go and collect it and then pull it down. So it was internet level antivirus scanning. And obviously, as viruses came on board, there were, more and more blacklisted. So if you received an email with one of these viruses in, you wouldn't get the email at all. It would be completely eviscerated. So what was the genius behind MessageLabs? A number of things. I mean, it was a free giveaway at the start, and it went on to sell 150 million of ARR and have a $700 million exit, because somebody said, why are you giving away what is such an important piece of tech? And we didn't really realize it at the time. So we had to split the two companies apart and create, so Star stayed as Star and MessageLabs became its own business. What made it genius? It's futuristic marketing, because it was, so the whole office was covered in spacemen and Liechtenstein marketing, and it was just extraordinary. That was a big part of it. They brilliantly, I mean, again, I was only a very small part of the team, but some of the senior guys used to go on the BBC and became the kind of go-to virus people as viruses became a thing. We named a lot of the viruses. We named Anna Kournikova. We named love bugs. So that got us more PR and more marketing. But the genius behind it was staying uncomfortably narrow. I mean, there were other products that followed, but the principal product was antivirus. That was what the business stayed very, very narrow on, and didn't try to be all things to all people in security down the line. There was an anti-spam, there was an anti-porn, there were other products that came down the line. But by a long way, the success of MessageLabs was down to a brilliantly simple idea sold over and over again with a value proposition that was very easy to understand. The strapline was be certain. That was it. Just be certain, when you're receiving email. And that was the genius behind the model. And then, $150 million of ARR later, annual recurring revenue later. It was in 2008. A Semantic approached the business and said, look, we'd like to acquire you. And actually the business was sold, and still one of the biggest European exits, in history, the day before the stock market crash of 2008. And I was in Dublin the day after the deal was done, playing golf, watching on the TVs in a golf club as people were bringing boxes out of Lehman's and the whole thing was happening. So, I mean, there's a lot of luck in this as well. Please don't ever forget. There's a lot of luck in being the right place at the right time. But there were some critical lessons to learn from what we did at MessageLabs, and that's what's in the book.
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. And I also think you're being very humble by saying luck because, we make our own luck in any day.
Mm,
What's the phrase, isn't it? The more I keep trying, the more I keep going, the luckier I get.
yeah.
And I think just unpacking some of the things you've said there, I think one of the key factors, which I think you've maybe underestimated, is also your guys' teamwork and humility. It
Mm,
wasn't some one person saying, I know the answer, this is it, this is what we're doing, and dictating. You worked together as a team. You went to the pub,
mm,
you wrote it
mm.
down, you brainstormed it. Everybody kept hammering and hammering and hammering it. It wasn't just someone, it was a collective problem that you were trying to solve, and you didn't think we've just solved it. You kept solving and solving and solving it by the sound of it, which I think is
Yeah.
is is amazing, and that's the true testament.
Yeah, we were and we are family. I mean, we still are. I mean, how long is it now since that those days have gone? 15 years, something like that. And Chris and Paul and myself, the three of us who wrote this book, and please don't think it's just me because it was three of us. But we first started working together in 1995. So we're getting very close to 30 years of working together, and we joined that MessageLabs family. And all of us, as you can see on LinkedIn, are still incredibly tight. We're all best friends. And we learned that incredible skill of working hard and playing hard. We had such a great time doing it, and we had some amazing times out, and it was an incredible team to be in. But when we were in the office, there was no friendship didn't come first. It was hard work. It was results. It was hit your number, hit your target. Don't turn up to a board meeting without the answers to the questions from the last board meeting. I was actually kicked out of a board meeting because I didn't have the right information, and it was done nicely. But they just said, well, if you could leave and come back when you have that information, because we asked you last month. I just completely forgot about it. Do you know what? I never did that again. And I didn't fall out with people again. So it was one of those amazing, and I hope everyone has one of those teams in their lives of people who were a family, who were honest with each other, who stayed incredibly humble, all the way through it. Just thoroughly decent, empathetic human beings who understood their customers' pain and made sure we delivered against the promises we made.
And the most people I speak to, that's exactly what they're looking for. So people want to work for companies like that. So it's sort of breeds success, really, rather than a blaming culture. And I think I've worked in various cultures myself, and I know many people I speak to have. And there is definitely a line. You can often see how the culture is affected by that blame side of things, and then the company starts to decline as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting point.
Can I just pick up on that point? Because you work in the world of recruitment. Um, the bit that really annoys me, I think, is, and I don't know how much work you do in the world of sales, but anybody who's in the world of sales recruitment is, a lot of the work, and we'll talk about venture, what we do in a second, but a lot of the work that we do with organizations is we're missing our number. The air's gone out the tires. We can't work out what's got wrong. It must be the sales team. The sales team are useless. The sales teams are rubbish. The sales teams are lazy. And look, that might be the case. And do I think that sales teams today didn't go through the boot camp that we went through in the 80s and 90s, where it was kind of commission only sales and it was brutal and it wouldn't be allowed today and it's illegal. But you know what? Did we learn how to sell back in those days? Absolutely. Did we get to understand how hard you have to work to hit your sales number? Yes, we did. And I think that's missing in the world today. But what I would say in defense of sales teams is, when we go into organizations and we get told that the sales teams are rubbish or the sales leaders are rubbish, as I say, that may be the case, but more often than not, the real challenge that is faced by software businesses is not the sales execution. It's we swim upstream of that to the sales messaging. If as you said before, if you look at a website and you cannot understand what that company does from looking at it from the outside, looking at that shop window, how on earth do you expect your customers to understand what you do when it's pretty unclear to your own organization what it is you do? If you walk down a high street, and you've done it every day of the week, so have I, and you look in a shop window and you go, oh, I wonder what they sell. Really weird. What an odd. I have no idea what they do. Now, if you've got time and you're bored, you might stop and go in and have a look, right? But if you're walking down a high street and you see a shop window and you go, they've got what I want. I can see it. It's in the window. I can absolutely see it. They've got what I want. You're going to stop and go into that shop and go and buy the goods. So I always think in recruitment, just before you sack your sales team and tell me that they're rubbish, I always swim upstream of that and say, just check that your messaging is good, your value prop is good, and that people from the outside can easily understand what you do, because if they can't, it's hard enough selling software without making it impossible for you to understand what you do.
No. So we're marketing. So we are marketing recruitment. So that's what we are in SaaS particularly. And so funny enough, I hear the other side of the story, funny enough, that basically the sales team often aren't blamed, actually. It's the marketing team that are blamed. And the marketing team aren't giving the leads, or they haven't got the right quality of customer. And there can be some discord between that. And I know somebody recently, they're a bootstrap business, they're trying to grow, and the marketing person was quite frustrated that they had all this pipeline, but they hadn't been able to close with the salesperson, and they didn't, they were being blamed as marketing. And I think the shift there is the blaming for me. So it's, if you're at the top and you're saying it's sales or marketing, that's where the problem lies, is when you're starting to silo them. You need to go, you guys, you're a team, like work together as the team, get the messaging to right, get the things right, let's enable sales, and then when the big whale of a deal comes in, it's not just sales who, well done, you got it over the line. It's like the team, we all did this, we achieved this, and celebrating that success. And companies that tend to have that culture seems to be the ones where people stay longer, they're happier, and I think the company has a better outcome of success, really.
It is extraordinary how two sort of teams that seemingly should work so well together and so hand in glove across sales and marketing so often don't. And they're in the same, one's there to provide the messaging and the campaigns and the leads, and the sales team are there to harvest those leads and develop them on. But I've noticed in 25 years of working in software how much conflict there is between sales and marketing teams that shouldn't be there. It's interesting. We wrote the book for B2B SaaS founders, and yet I think we're number 9 in marketing management on Amazon. So I think it's been bought by a lot of marketing people because it's all about the message. It's all about the value prop. And Steve Jobs nailed it, like no one else did. Can a 7-year-old use this phone? And if a 7-year-old can use this phone, anybody can, and then we're off and away. We need to run the same test across our own 7-year-olds or 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds. And if you haven't got one, borrow one or find one, and sit them down and say, this is what we do as a business. Do you understand it? Does it make sense to you? This is the problem that our customers are in. This is the challenge that they're having. Does this make sense to you? And if they don't understand it, then we need to go back and make that messaging simpler and simpler and simpler and simpler. And I cannot emphasize enough that too many marketing messages are too diverse. They're a harbor light where there needs to be a laser beam, trying to cover too many markets, covering too many customers. We need to get uncomfortably narrow in our message and say we are for mainly the middle pixel of the dartboard of our perfect customer looks like this. And here are 300 companies that sit in that middle of the dartboard. We are going to message to get them, just them, no one else, just them to buy our products. So we are for mid-market organizations that have this problem, that have this, they're this size, that are in this demographic. That's who we're for, and we're not for anybody else. And they have this problem, and our software solves it this way, which gives this value at great pace and makes the world a better place for people that work in those organizations. And the person that bought the software got promoted or got a round of applause at the next board meeting. That's it, period, full stop. We may go and do cleverer things later. We may have 3 horizons, 5 horizons of other clever things we can do in the line. But today, this is who we're for, and that's it. And sales and marketing need to come together and agree who those 300 targets are, what our simple message is going to be, how we're going to cascade them down through the funnel, and how we're going to become mission critical to those businesses. And that, for me, is the secret to sales and marketing success.
That's exactly why I wanted you to speak to you, because when I read your book and I looked at it, for me, it was about marketing. That's all I saw. I saw marketing, and I was like, do you know what you're doing is you're actually empowering marketing leaders to go to people in the business and say, look, this book, maybe it's a present for you guys. Why don't you read it, and then we can work on this together. But this is someone that's done it. They've seen there and they've been the T-shirt. It's not just your opinion. This is what I think is so great about your book. And this is also the reason I want to do this podcast, because and it's called Spotlight Marketing because I want people to see that marketing can grow businesses. Marketing is
Oh
a
yeah,
key function, and in this current climate, so many people are cutting marketing teams.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I hear people saying, right, we've decided that we're now going to go to sales led. We're just going to go sales led. We're not doing any marketing. We're not doing any campaigns. We're just going to go back to our black book and our sales guys, and we're going out there. And we're like, well, really? Well, your competitors are going to love that.
Yeah.
So and it's just I'm hearing that so often, or companies saying, oh, we're not really going to focus on marketing, we're going to go just on our product, and we're just going to keep making our product better, and then the people will buy it. But if you don't tell people that your product's better and you don't give them the information, then that's not going to work. So that's why I was really excited about what you're doing.
Yeah, I'd love you I'd love to have sort of 15, 20 minutes with people that decide to go sales led and not marketing led. If the art of selling a product is messaging, is tight value propositions, is empowering, exciting value propositions, it's be certain. It's we will stop viruses hitting your system. We'll, there's no guarantee in life. Any guarantee you get in life is with a kettle, but be as certain as you can be. If the secret to success in business is brilliant messaging, then marketing should have a critical role to play across the organization, because it's the message that is everything, right? We have an expression which you'll have read in the book called leads before sales, right? And the reason we do that is because our belief is, let's create the business, let's create a set of compelling, armor piercing messages and you've read the book, the workbooks. We build the pain statement visualization. We test it on the market to make sure that we're right. We build a market map. We decide who our buying persona is. We create a compelling message set. We then invest heavily in inbound ebooks, paid search, earned search, LinkedIn marketing, as much inbound coming into the organization as we can to generate leads, right? That's coming into the business. And when the founders are bleeding out of their eyeballs and their ears because they can't deal with the number of leads that they get in, we still say don't hire a salesperson. The next person you should hire should be CS and marketing ops, as you've seen in the books. So rev ops, because you need to get your CRM set up right. You need to get your data right. You need to get your funnel right. You need CS to find out where your customers are finding real value. And only then, when you have too many leads to deal with, would you then consider hiring your first salesperson. So I think Karen, you and I see the world a different way. I think it's marketing led, message led, value prop led sales first. The days of cold calling are done, aren't they? I mean, I did it I started working cold calling in 1993. I mean, we had people firing tennis balls at us. We had to make 40 phone calls a day. We were commission only. We had to sell life and pensions to people we didn't like very much, who didn't like us at all. I mean, that whole sort of selling has been banned. Or, I wouldn't answer the phone if I didn't know, the picture, the name coming up on my screen. So it has to be cleverer than that. It has to be marketing led. It has to be leads generated. It has to be, the marketing person, a skilled marketing person, is worth their weight in absolute gold to an organization. And I love salespeople, and I am a salesperson. The great ones are kings and queens to me. But if you are, a starting out founder, find yourself a brilliant marketing agency that can create, or marketing team that can create compelling, armor-piercing messaging that makes your customers sit up and go, "That's me. I have that problem. Can you come and show me how I can fix it?"
I completely 100% agree. And I started my career, funny enough, in sales too. And I've also sold software too. And we were cold calling at that period in our life. So I've been there and seen it and done it and got the T-shirt. But these days, marketing, being top of mind is a much smarter way of doing it, really, because you're narrowing down your audience straight away. So we've touched a little bit already on the book, but is there anything else that we haven't spoken about in the book? Any other frameworks or anything else that you'd like to elaborate or talk about?
Yeah, I mean, we deliberately set out to. I mean, the original genesis of the book was that we were finding it quite hard to articulate Venture's value proposition, i.e., the consultancy business that myself and Paul and Chris run today. And we were sat in a room with two people called Ben and Steve, who actually helped us write one of the workbooks, all about inbound marketing. And we were saying to them, look, you're very good at messaging. It's a bit like 70% of solicitors last year died without writing a will. We're very good at helping other people out with their value props, but we were very poor at defining ours. And they just said, well, why don't you just write down your process, write down what you do for businesses. So this was last April. I sat down, looked out the window, and literally wrote 10 sequential workbooks in terms of how to go from nothing to something exciting, or to stack the odds in your favor. If you can we say if you read the book you'll create a better software business? No, but you'll dramatically stack the odds in your favor of doing so. So it goes through 10 workbooks. It starts off with creating a pain visualization of the problem that your company, your customers have, that you guys solve. What is the pain? What's broken? What's hurting them on a time basis, a money basis, a process basis, a frustration basis? Are you feeling slightly embarrassed that your team is having to deal with Excel in 2024, a product that was written 30 years ago and is still being used today by too many organizations to try and manage their processes on a multi-million pound business? Are your customers failing to get their products to market faster? Are they failing to get critical data visualized? A picture paints 1,000 words. So show all the internal actors, show your customer, put their hat on for a day, empathize with them, look at their world internally, look at their world externally, and visualize where things are broken, and visualize where that pain sits. Who's feeling the pain? Is it them? It might not be them, by the way. They might be buying this software to help their employees. But who's feeling this pain? And how does it manifest itself? Where is the friction? Where are the arguments? Put them in red on the visualization. And then workbook 2 is to take that visualization and go and test it on a bunch of people before you commit your money and your mum's money and your investors' money and all the rest of it to this organization. Go out and speak to the guys in this role, and don't lead the witness, and don't ask them to be nice to you. And read a book called The Mum Test, which sits on my desk every day, alongside our book, of course. But read the Mum Test, and the Mum Test is how to talk to customers and learn if your business is a good idea when everyone's lying to you. I mean, a brilliant strapline, and find out whether what you've created is painful enough, is troubling enough for them to stop everything they're doing, tackle inertia, and bring another bit of software into their organization to help solve their problem. And if it is, fantastic. And if it isn't, stop. Don't keep going that you think you know better than your customers, because you don't. They just told you it's not important enough. But if they do, and the good news is that they very often do, or they give you a nuance on your product, they go, yeah, I see that bit, but the bit that really hurts is that bit. And then you switch all your messaging to address that bit. That's workbook 2, testing your thesis. And then, you're defining who your buying persona is. You're building your go-to-market plan. You're finding 300 customers that you're going to go at. You're looking at your average case size. And then you're into your marketing world, which is when they need to, ring you up and one of your colleagues up and say, look, I now need to build a brilliant marketing campaign. I need to change my website. I need to, sharpen my messaging. And then you're into inbound. And also in the book, we look at, we bang on a lot about messaging on websites because it drives us absolutely nuts that people don't say why their software exists. But when and how should you hire a sales team, which is a really kind of interesting workbook on there, how to effectively sell your software. And then we go into pricing and packaging, which is the bit that nearly every founder really, really struggles with, is how should we be pricing our software? And this is probably the bit that I have the most arguments with the founders that we meet every day of the week. And we work with about 12 different SaaS businesses, every day, is you have to have your pricing on your website. You have to. No one enters a significant financial transaction ever unless they know at the start how much this platform is going to cost them. No one goes into a car showroom and looks at a car without looking at the windscreen and seeing how much it costs. They're not even going to entertain the idea of buying that car unless they know what it costs and what's involved in doing that. Rightmove don't sell houses with no numbers on them. They have to have. So to even enter the tunnel of thinking, will I buy your system? I need to have an understanding. Is this 10,000 a year, 50,000 a year, 100,000 a year? Where am I at? And we talk about how you should package your software up and how you should price it effectively and how you should test it. And then the final workbook is on how to go out and get some money. You need investors. How do you build a great investor deck? We wrote that with a guy from Notion Capital, one of the greatest sort of deck reviewers, and knows what a deck should look like. A guy called Cam, who's a great mate of ours, and he helped us write Workbook 10. I mean, there are 4 other authors in this book. There's me and Chris and Paul, plus 4 others who helped write the workbook with us. So it's not just our wisdom; it's some of the best people in the business. Andreas did the pricing and packaging with us, and he's known as one of the best.
Obviously, your day job is still working with venture, so you're still building your portfolio of companies there. You're still wanting to invest with people.
Yeah, I mean, we do it because we love it. I mean, not because necessarily we have to. We do it because we really enjoy solving problems. I think the first line of the book, and I better just check, but I'm pretty sure the first line of the book is, we've written this book for people we regard as heroes. And that is, this book's been written for people we regard as heroes, which is SaaS leaders and SaaS founders. We are so inspired by them and the journey and the bravery and the guts they've shown in going out and leaving their own dent in the universe. And we love solving those problems. We love coming alongside businesses that are ambitious, that want to learn more, that would like myself and Paul, helping and mentoring and steering the founder. We're working with one unicorn right now, but typically our customers are sort of relatively early on in that journey, looking for investment, looking for some SaaS smarts, some SaaS wisdom. How do we not fall into the massive man traps that we fell into? I mean, let's not forget, we've had businesses that have gone wrong. Not everything is if you think for 1 second that, our life's been a bed of roses, we've talked each other off more ledges as the 3 of us than I can wave a stick at. We've had some things go wrong, but our job is to make sure that our clients don't fall into the same man traps that we do. And that involves some pretty tough decisions, some pretty tough conversations sometimes. But yeah, venture is myself and Paul on a daily basis. Chris, obviously, with 3 of us are incredibly close. He's a partner at Notion Capital and therefore can't be with us day to day, but is on all our WhatsApp groups, is adding his network, his wisdom, his once in a generation mind to every customer we work with. And we do it because we love it. And we're busy, but if people want to get in contact and say, please, can you come and help me? Then we're at venture.team. I'm sure you've got the details on the podcast team. Venture spelt quite weirdly. It's VENCHA, but it's down with the kids. Venture.team is where we're at, and we love working with customers.
Brilliant. Yep, they'll be included in the show notes, so absolutely do reach out. So fantastic. It's funny actually, a story I don't tell people very often, but I did actually try a SaaS startup myself in around 2010, and everything that you said on why it failed is the way it failed. We couldn't agree on the proposition. We were too busy focused on the website being too green or whatever. We didn't get something out there. We didn't test it, and we couldn't agree between ourselves, and it became a bit of a blame culture, and it was quite toxic. So it sort of led me to leave that arena, but I have been there and seen it and done it. And I've founded, this is my second business, but I've founded 5 businesses, and like 2 of them have done really well and the others haven't, and it's just, it's one of those things. It's life, isn't it? But you can't take the failures as a failure, really, just something you learn.
Not at all. I mean, you learn as much from the ones that went wrong as the ones that went right. I mean, it's very easy to sit there when you're in a Formula One team and playing a very small part, like I was at MessageLabs, and watching the numbers skyrocket and sitting there just the utter genius of people, admiring the utter genius of the people I work with. That's the easy bit.
Is there anything else you want to mention that I haven't asked you up until now?
No, I think it's been a really, really good chat. I think hang in there. I think things are going to get better. I think things are improving. I know it's going to take a while. We're all talking about how low the bottom of the bath is. Is it a V or is it a bath-shaped recovery? But good things are around the corner. And I think money's starting to flow again from VCs. I think good businesses will always get investment. A great business with a great idea, well researched, well voiced, will always get investment. And things are going to get better.
I can see green shoots myself in certain companies. Even today, I had a company saying we're on a high. I haven't had it for a while, but I had someone today saying we are hiring like Billy-O and we are growing. And I was like, brilliant that you've got the confidence and the market's coming back. So that's brilliant. So there we have it, a treasure trove of wisdom from our B2B mastermind, Richard. Remember, his advice doesn't just sit on your headphones. It's also time to take action and grab a copy of his Go-To-Market Handbook for the SaaS leaders, B2B SaaS leaders. You can buy this on Amazon and there'll be a link in the show notes. So thank you for listening. It's been my pleasure to host, and I look forward to diving in next time with another guest.